Welcome to the Sleeping Barber podcast.
Something about standing.
There is something about standing. I feel like really engaged
Standing
right
is the
now.
new gym.
Standing is the new gym. People are like, what the hell are you guys all talking about? But here's what we're talking about. Welcome back to another episode of our Barber's Brief. If you're a new listener, we use this forum to discuss things that have caught our eye over the last couple of weeks. We highlighted our marketing moment and then obviously get into our favorite segment, which is Out of the Week. This is where I cue you, Mark. There it is. Yeah. Good morning, Mark. How are
Good
you,
morning, V. Yeah, and we're just commenting on standing about on our desk instead of sitting at our desk, which we are now doing. And actually, the first time we've ever done this, I think.
This is a first, live from Calgary.
Wow, we have such exciting lives. I'm standing. You won't believe this. What I just did the other day, I was standing at my desk.
What? Shut the front door. That's amazing.
Exactly. All right.
With that excitement out of the way.
Yeah, it was really good. That was a good opening.
Right? I mean, it doesn't get better than that.
So energized right now. This is great. Okay, let's get into this.
I was just going to say, there's a lot of things here.
I know, there's lots of things.
So how about, you're up first anyways. So kick us off. What'd you find?
Okay, so a really good post from Grace Kite talking about his influencer marketing. Yeah, she's amazing. Influencer marketing right for you. And then she references YouGov. I'm not 100% sure what YouGov is. I got to look that up. But they have this report that they did on influencers. And so Grace talks about that and talks about how there's an opportunity for brands that don't have big budgets to potentially use influencers as part of their brand budget.
Mm-hmm.
But I just thought the original research was kind of interesting. So they looked at the value of influencer content across a whole bunch of different categories. And maybe not surprising is that the value of content is different depending on the category that you're in. So for example, travel influencers have really useful content. Religion, spirituality influencers, not so much. It's almost the exact opposite. So 60% of travel influencers, or 60% of the people that were surveyed thought travel influencer content was great. Up in that category range as well are things like fitness and exercise, tech, clothing, even food and drink or like above the 55 to 60% range. And then on the bottom end, it's finance, politics, and spirituality, where like 20-ish to 30-ish% of the people thought that was useful content. And then the other thing that I thought was interesting is that it also varies depending on the place that you're in. So by category and also by place. So for example, we mentioned fitness and fashion, or fashion and food are two of the top ones. In Indonesia, a lot of people found it very useful and very helpful content from influencers, but in France, not so much. So it's kind of one of those things where you got to figure out if an influencer strategy is right for you, but also it might vary depending on the place you're living in and the category that you're in. So I just thought it was kind of interesting because, you can get to some influencers. It doesn't have to be a giant mega influencer.
Yeah.
But you can get to some smaller micro influencers that can produce your content for you. That could be a really great way to develop brand campaigns.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at those categories, so you said travel, fitness, fashion, food, and drink. It's like I would put those all under one umbrella called entertainment, right? So it feels like there's a higher affinity to entertainment-based content around those core categories where it feels like maybe it's landing a little bit better. But things that matter, like politics, finance, and news, it's like less so. So I think it's like people either have their own sources of truth for those things and they don't want to be quote unquote influenced, which again, I don't think I'm that surprised. And in the background, I did a quick Google search and YouGov is a global public opinion and data company.
Well, there you go. Yeah. So what do you got?
Good find. So this is a little bit different, but I think it's about a couple weeks. No, I think it's a couple of weeks ago. Anyways, lululemon Fanatics partner with the NHL to launch new premium fan apparel collection. Now, and we'll get into why I think this is important, but just hear me out here for a quick second. Humor me, if you will, Mark.
Okay.
So Lululemon Fanatics announced a multi-year partnership with the NHL. Now, they'll be starting with the first 11 teams in the 2024-2025 season. This collection will actually expand to all 32 teams by the end of 2026. Now, products will feature more popular Lululemon items like the scuba hoodie and a line pant, which is really staples or of their product lines. And I think time and time again, you've seen some NHL players actually, wear Lululemon. They will be available for purchase starting October 29th. So literally, I want to say almost a week ago is when it went live at various retail locations. So the partnership includes creative campaign featuring NHL players, including Connor Bedard. Initially, availability includes team stores like select lid stores, NHLshop.com, specific retail locations in cities like Boston, Chicago, Detroit, Edmonton, and New York, which is interesting. I saw the cities. I thought maybe they would go maybe like Original Six, but they have one Canadian city at least there, and I'm surprised Toronto's not on that list.
Yeah, that seems strange.
Or Montreal, for example. Some of the biggest fan bases. But anyways, so why do I think this is not really unique, but kind of prominent from a marketing perspective? First one, obviously, like expanding brand relevance for Lululemon, expanding that brand relevance through strategic partnerships. So the NHL is not something that you would have really associated maybe Lululemon in the past. So I think it's them just kind of like venturing out into where their product is already likely, in place, and just trying to make it probably a little bit more, salient. Creating cross-market appeal. So partnerships with showcases Lululemon adaptability to launch an NHL branded version of its core products. Now we've seen a lot of these partnerships that have happened over time. I feel like this one's just, it was just kind of a different way to approach their user bases with more of a tie to sport, because it's not their first time in sport, because remember they did outfit Team Canada,
the Olympics and all that.
Exactly. So it's either sports is like a new arm for them that they're going to continuously kind of invest and grow in. So I think this is just an extension of that. Leveraging athlete ambassadors for fan engagement. So again, Connor Bedard was one of them that will be featuring for a lot of their products, which I think, again, it's nothing new in the context of like, leaning on those ambassadors or those professional athletes, but, building continuity with a unique game day appeal. So I thought this one was interesting. So it's like by branding a collection as offering a new feel for game day, Lululemon aligns the fan experience with the brand values of comfort and performance. So emphasizing that apparel is designed both for style and functionality. So again, I feel like that's just a natural evolution, if you will, of their brand. And I think I welcome these types of synergies and these types of partnerships. I think it shows sometimes the versatility of some of these brands. So chapeau, Lululemon, well done.
Yeah, and I think there's like a lot of crossover now. Like Lululemon originally started just as a yoga brand, pretty much.
Totally. Yeah.
And now you have a lot of the athletes that are doing yoga as part of their, fitness, yes, but also like recovery and like therapeutic routine. And so it kind of makes sense for like cross-pollination across different audiences where you can.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Cool idea.
What'd you find next?
Moo Deng will die. Not, well,
okay.
I mean, we all die, but not just, so Moo Deng is that, but the trend or the meme of Moo Deng. Yeah. No, the hippo that eats water. Have you ever seen that thing?
Right. Yes.
So Andrew Tindall, this is now a couple weeks old, I think. It was just, or maybe a week old, but Moo Deng itself as a trend, I think, is already gone.
Okay.
But it was one of those things that, so Andrew, we've had him on, super great guy and a very, very thoughtful person, has a lot of great comment and content on different things. This one on brands meme jacking, and specifically using Moo Deng and how brands are like jumping on this and putting like Moo Deng the hippo in their pizza ads or, their Coca-Cola ads or whatever the thing is. Right?
Yeah.
So it's a thing, and we all have done versions of this at some point in our career, probably.
100%.
There's some kind of social phenomenon that happens, and then you're told to do something, especially if you live in the social media world where you're like chasing after these trends all the time.
Ice bucket challenge.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And so, even like SNL had a feature on the weekend news edition where somebody in a character outfit of a hippo outfit was Moo Deng, and they were talking about their life and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, everybody was talking about it. Many brands picked up on it. There's lots of buzz and hype around it. And then Moo Deng is gone. And so Andrew's point is that there's lots of evidence and research out there that shows that going for engagement is not a sustainable strategy and not an important strategy for delivering brand growth. There's a bunch of references that he put in his article about click performance has nothing to do with brand awareness. We know from the Promise of the Customer stuff that buzz actually has a negative correlation to business metrics like market share and penetration. And so you have this risk that he's pointing out, these opportunistic meme jacking moments that actually could derail your business strategy. And so what grows a brand is really a commitment to long-term creative strategy and just consistent execution. He's published some interesting work along with the IPA where they looked at percentage of reporting for very large business effects for campaigns that do creative consistency. And there's pretty substantial improvements in profit and in market share, not necessarily sales volume, but in sales value. So like, yeah, so you can, if you're trying to, as what we always talk about, chase profit.
That's all we do.
Yeah, there's a way to do that that's more effective than chasing engagement.
You know what? It's just think about back when Roger Martin was talking to us about that very thing. It's like, chasing the engagement side of thing. That's just, it's either not sustainable. You can do maybe some short-term lift, but doesn't have a long-standing impact to your overall growth as a company. And I think just seeing this backed up in this way is also good, where I think it's important to have a social strategy. I think it's important that you can create some of those, but it can't be the only thing that you do.
Yeah. I think you can sample in it, but yeah, you're right. If it's a distraction for your overall business objectives, then yeah, it's a problem. What else you got?
So my last one probably has the opportunity to disrupt our entire industry.
Boy.
Yeah, it's kind of a big one. And I don't know if you saw this, October 31st, ChatGPT officially launched SearchGPT, which is now available through a Chrome extension if people are interested in using it. And it's been in the works for several months. Obviously, there's been I wasn't on the beta list, unfortunately, but would have been great to have been to kind of like test it. But the reason why this is important, now we've long waited for this to release kind of like a public beta. And while it's early to tell what impact ChatGPT will have on Google or the way we traditionally the way we traditionally search things, but we know that SearchGPT, despite having a smaller user base right now, is already sending more referral traffic to brands than other AI engines like, Perplexity or Claude or things to that effect, which is interesting because I think we're naturally starting to see and change that search behavior where right now you Google something, you either hope that there's a sponsored ad that gets you close enough to what you're looking for, or you're not really willing to go past page 2. In your search query results, right? So you're trying to find, your query, best marketing podcast. That should already be the Sleeping Barber.
Clearly the Sleeping Barber, yeah.
Clearly we're top ranked. We got to get our SEO game is strong. But anyways, it's interesting because I think our search behavior now as consumers are starting to shift with these large language models that are becoming more and more prominent in our day-to-day use.
Totally.
Like, you don't want to have to sift through sponsored ads. You want to get right to it. So this is where SearchGPT is a little bit different. So SearchGPT includes up-to-date information and unique visual designs across categories of weather, stocks, sports, news, and maps. Probably some of the most frequently queried things from a day-to-day perspective. And the reason why this will be powerful, it's going to take you right to the source. And now search chats will now include links to those sources as well, such as articles, blog posts, anything that could be somewhat associated with your query. You can even then click on the sources button to expose all the different responses and things that you can kind of go or click deeper in. And because this is citing sources right now, I think it will naturally remove that need to go back to, okay, you know what? I searched something, I didn't get the results I'm looking. I'm going to go back to the search engine and be like, okay, let's try that again. Here, it's like, again, think about the conversational elements, like, looking for the best marketing podcast. Great. Here you go. Here, based on these sourced items, this is why the Sleeping Barber is number 1, so to speak. But then you can just go through the sources because they're listed there for you.
Right. Look up to see what the one that is. Keep going though.
Well, I'm sure it's going to be like the CMO, Uncensored CMO, or the CMO podcast. But anyways, and I think that's just going to shift the entire discipline of search for consumers moving forward. So I don't want to say Google's in trouble. I'm sure they're going to be evolving their search product. Gemini obviously gonna, probably become more prominent and things like that. And I'm sure Google will just find a way to monetize whatever, they come up with to counter search GPT. But I just love the direction that we're going. And something as long-standing as search is ready to be disrupted. And I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah. Okay, so a couple things on that one. I have a Google Pixel.
Okay.
And I've noticed lately I think it's Gemini search results that are showing up, and it's got like a weird little hyperlink to different things. So I have seen that. I also have seen some of the commercials recently for the new Google Pixels that are coming out, and they've got search enabled in it.
Okay.
Or sorry, AI enabled in it. So the one video that I saw was there's somebody that's going camping, and then their tent is just flat on the ground. They don't know what to do with it. They take a picture of the tent, and then it goes, looks like a geodome tent. Here's how to assemble that.
Oh way.
So yeah, so it's interesting from a search perspective across the board how all these tools are going to work together. I think the one thing that Google has an advantage of is that they control or they manage most people's searches.
100%.
So to 100%. Download the GPT extension is kind of interesting because it's an extra step that Google probably can make a bit more difficult and make it less accessible for people. But I am with you. Like, it's a really fascinating time because all these different platforms now are each device is becoming a AI tool that will
100%.
enable the capacity for doing these kinds of things. And it is going to change for sure how we search for stuff, or maybe not even how we search for stuff, but how we action the things we're searching for.
I actually think this is what's going to jettison us and to use voice more than we have in the past.
Totally.
Because again, it's more conversational more than anything. So it's like, hey, search GPT. Again, this is just a hypothetical, but like, what's the highest ranked marketing podcast today? The highest ranked based on these sources, the highest ranked marketing podcast is the Sleeping Barber podcast. I'm speaking it into existence. I'm manifesting this. So audience, just humor us.
Well, and this is where I think there's some interesting stuff. We should probably look into this more, but the other share of model that keeps coming up is the share of.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
AI. I forget the name of the like people have been talking about it. I just can't remember the name of it. It's something like share of model or something like, or share of language, LLM or something like that, where if you input all your stuff into these learning language models or language learning, what is it called? LLM?
Large language models. LLMs.
There you go. So if you put all your stuff in there, then it becomes like a repository. And if your stuff is bigger than the rest of them, then that kind of influences the outcomes of the search results.
Yeah.
So that's a great point.
All right. So what do we got next? The marketing moment. Oh, sorry. I have a jingle. It's time for the marketing moment with Mark Binkley.
That's amazing. I love that.
Right? Now you got to do that for me in a couple of weeks.
Okay. I'll come up with something. Does it have to be original every time, or can I just copy what you did?
No, you can just copy.
Okay. That takes the pressure off.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, campaign. So Heinz Ketchup, it has to be Heinz. We talked about the Heinz Ketchup campaign creative at one point a while back. A friend of ours, Nicola Tillin from work, was kind enough to send me over this case study, though, of the actual campaign. Nice. So this is where I got this from. So our friends at Rethink, the agency, were the agency involved in this. So here's the bit of the background. Heinz was losing their iconic status. So this goes back to like 2018.
Mm-hmm.
They bring on Rethink. They know that their awareness is high. Functional benefits are known. The relevance was in decline, though. Inflation, supply chain issues, and increased competition was putting pressure on consumers to choose cheaper products.
Mm-hmm.
Restaurants are filling their Heinz ketchup bottles with other brands.
Yeah.
A lot of private label became more and more prominent.
Mm-hmm.
which was, so that's a common challenge. The objective of this campaign was to connect, I would say, in 3 different ways. On an emotional level, try and reignite an emotional connection to the Heinz brand. On a financial level, looking at short and long term. So in short term, trying to slow the decline in share that they had, and specifically with private label brands. And then long term, obviously, to increase sales. But without a caveat there, was without to increase the media or creative spend. Then the other part of the objective is they wanted to be able to show and not just say that has to be Heinz. So they wanted to do things that gave people opportunity to, experience it for themselves and also create that earned media impression. And so over a period of 5 years, they had this "it has to be Heinz" creative platform. So again, speaking to commitment and consistency, they mentioned $1.3 million in production fees and $6.8 million in media spend. This is for North America. I don't know if that was per year, but I want to think it might be.
I think so. Well, your production would have been one-off, but 6.8 million.
Yeah.
Our market's a little bit smaller.
Well, it's maybe not necessarily. Yeah, I don't know. It would be interesting to kind of look into this a bit more to see if we can find the answer. But the ratio I thought was interesting as well, because we talked about like a 3-to-1 or 4-to-1 kind of thing. So you can also just spend a shit ton of money on production and content and never actually deliver the stuff. So it's important there to kind of think about that. And then they did a thing where they really wanted to focus on some of their distinctive assets. So like that ketchup itself is a slow pour. They've got this iconic glass bottle. They've got that brand, the Keystone brand logo, and the color of the ketchup. So over a period of 5 years, they ran a whole bunch of different kinds of executions. One was to pour perfectly. So they reoriented the label so that it fit at the 31-degree angle that you're supposed to pour perfect ketchup out of, which is kind of brilliant. So they used the logo as like a leveler kind of thing.
Yeah. I love that.
During COVID, they came out with a ketchup puzzle, which was a 570-piece puzzle with Heinz Red, which is kind of fun. Everyone had a lot of time. So again, kind of linking into that slow pour idea or like slow stuff. They asked a whole bunch of people to draw ketchup, and nearly everyone drew Heinz bottles, which is kind of interesting.
That's pretty cool.
Then they asked AI to draw ketchup, and AI drew a Heinz bottle. They did a hot dog packed petition where it was a PR campaign to get people to sign petition to get hot dog bun packages to match the number of hot dogs in a package.
That's genius, actually.
Yeah, Wonder Bread ended up producing that. There's Heinz Fraud campaign, which I think is the campaign that we featured in some of the creative, where there's a whole bunch of restaurants, and that was a global impact as well, but a whole bunch of restaurants were refilling Heinz bottles with something other than Heinz, and so that was like a B2B play. And then they also did like a Super Bowl hijack. So Super Bowl 57, Heinz 57, so they did a thing off of that. So it was a series of executions that ran for a period of 5 years, all under that it has to be Heinz creative banner, and always trying to get people to create content and build content and contribute content. So UGC kind of ideas. And try and create engagement. So here's some of the results. Top of mind awareness increased versus private label by 130%. They earned billions of dollars in earned media. Their search increased by 400%. Between 2019 and 2023, U.S. sales grew by $273 million, or 47%. They reclaimed 3.2 share points from competition, and household penetration grew 1.7 times faster than the category. So overall, I'd say they did pretty good. They ended up winning an effectiveness and prix from the Cannes Lion Effectiveness Awards. Really interesting case study.
You know what I love about this? It's like the longevity, the 5+ year plan, the brand platform that was created to, over the course of not just 1 year, 5 years in this case.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe it's continuing. I don't know what that is, but I love this because it shows like you're committing for the long term, and you're continuing to build off that brand platform in different ways during that time. But it still all comes back. Like ketchup should be synonymous with Heinz. That's it, right? Full stop.
Yeah.
I love that.
The one that's interesting to me is like when we're talking about chasing buzz, and then all of a sudden it seems like they're chasing buzz. I think the one difference is that they're trying to create it rather than jump on other trends.
It goes back to your earlier point. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think there is a slight difference there where you can ride these sort of social trends and whatnot, so long as I think the idea is making it your own, and it's a part of the vehicle to get further reach, as opposed to just trying to like steal things from other like Moo Deng kind of trends.
Yeah, I'm with you. Makes it fun.
Yeah. Sorry, that was just me playing the video. I haven't actually seen the commercial you wanted to talk about. So let's get into that, V.
The week. Here it is. Well, surprise, surprise. Apple's back for an ad of the week. I thought this was a really interesting one. It dropped, I think, a couple of weeks ago. It's titled Write Smarter, basically Apple showcasing its Apple Intelligence platform. So in this latest ad, Write Smarter follows an office worker using the tech giant's intelligence system on the iPhone 16 to refine a usually casual email into a more polished professional message, much to the surprise of his boss, who seemed to be a little perplexed by the sudden shift in tone. Now, what I love about this ad specifically is it's Apple's approach is really consistent to its longstanding strategy on focusing on a single, readable, and use case grounded in a consumer benefit.
Yeah.
Right? They don't try to overdo it on all the different RTBs or why you should be, we should be picking the iPhone 16. It's like, no, if you want to write smarter, here's the tool for you.
Yeah.
And, the ad makes that that reason to buy or RTB really easy to come through in the message. And I heard you chuckling in the background. So obviously I think it resonated in some capacity.
Yeah. At the end there, like it's with him doing the whole ninja nunchuck thing.
Anyways, and I love that because, again, if we're talking about like the consistency that Apple is doing on their ads in terms of they're always different. Like they're not, you can tell an Apple ad is an Apple ad. That's the same, but it's very, they follow the same methodology. And I just, they don't try to overthrow too much at the consumer at once. It's like, no, here's one RTB, writing more intelligent or using Apple Intelligence from that perspective. And here's how it would look like in your day-to-day. So I just love it.
Well, and they always feature the product so centrally in everything that they do. Like it's always a product ad. It's no mistake about that. But they do it in such a fun way. Like they're so good.
They're really good at this. These brand extension platforms. I don't know what you want to call them, product extension platforms. But anyways, at the end of the day, it resonates. I think it's really funny. It's a great little video.
Mm-hmm.
We'll obviously add the link in the show notes for everyone to visit.
Yeah.
So coming up next week. Coming up next week.
Yeah.
Dude, we're really excited about this.
I know. We have so we have a panel.
We have a panel.
Which is the first time this is a show of many firsts for us. First panel, but also the first time standing up.
First time standing for an episode.
Things going on here, V. Yeah. So next week, here you go. Ready?
That's right.
Can you hear the drum? Yeah.
I can hear the drum.
Go for it.
I'm doing it?
Yeah, you go.
Do it here.
Okay, so we got Roger Martin.
There we go.
Coming back, which is amazing. And then he brought some friends with him. Jan Schwartz
Roger
from LinkedIn and Mimi Turner from LinkedIn. And it was an amazing conversation about the promise to the customer, the B2B promise to the customer. It's fascinating. Such a great conversation. And then even after that, lucky for us, Mimi's internet wasn't working as well. So she ended up sticking around for the post-pod, which is great.
We've never done a post-pod with a guest or one of the guests on a post-pod. So, I mean, I thought it was
super
great.
fun. Yeah, it was really awesome.
So really excited for that here next week. Yeah.
Yeah. We got lots of cool stuff coming up too. So
we do. And with that, I'm going to go take this collared shirt of mine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go find some profitability, but I'm going to look sharp while I do so.
Yeah.
How about you?
Well, with this newfound standing, I just noticed there's some profitability up in the corner of of the ceiling there, and I gotta just get a broom and dust that off because I didn't realize it was there.
There you go. Hey, sometimes it's where you don't know you can find some profitability. I think there's actually a message in there, Mark. Well done.
Maybe there might be. I don't know what it is, but there might be.
I love it.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good, man. Have a great day.
Ciao.
Bye.